23-24, going once, going twice.
Remember?
Same screen. No.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh.
Okay. When you're ready.
Thank you, everyone, for listening in and being a part of this show. Well, this is the big one. We're going to start talking about players, player values, who Sabri and I are targeting and looking to go after this year. And we hope that potentially this discussion is going to help you guys formulate your own draft strategies and your approach that you want to take in whatever league it might be. But we're going to specifically kind of talk about auction and auction values. And Sabri, why don't you go on ahead and start to talk to me a little bit about quarterbacks?
Well, before we get into that, whether you agree with our values or not, it's just important you get an idea of what you want your values to be like. So me and Joseph created a list of values for a standard league of 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 quarterback, and 6 bench spots. It's a PPR league, and quarterback throwing touchdowns are worth 4 points. And yeah, so let's start off with quarterbacks, and we'll work our way to tight ends. But we broke them up with rankings, values, and tiers. So in tier 1, I have Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. Number 3 would be Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes at number 4, ending my tier 1. I have Josh Allen valued at $16. Oh, and by the way, this is a $100 auction league. Jalen Hurts valued at 14, Lamar Jackson at 12, and Patrick Mahomes at 11. What about you, Joe?
Well, I agree with the 4 quarterbacks that you have in tier 1.
Well, you should agree.
My values, though, for quarterback tend to be on the lower end, and my overall values tend to be a little bit lower. I like to value starting with kind of what my floor values are, not necessarily what my top cap is. I like to leave some wiggle room for me in the draft to kind of improvise and whatnot. So while my values are low, I use it as more of I build from the floor up as a tool. So with Lamar, I have Lamar Jackson as the number 1 quarterback that you want to have this year. I have Jalen Hurts number 2, Josh Allen 3, and Patrick Mahomes 4. Okay. If I'm in a draft, I'm throwing Patrick Mahomes out as a money eater early in round 1. Yeah. I want to see someone throw as much money at the guy as possible.
What do you have him valued at?
I got Patrick Mahomes around 8, Josh Allen 9, Jalen Hurts 10, and Lamar Jackson 11.
So that is lower. Do you not think in a $100 league they'll go higher than that?
They probably will, but
it's
reason
just not willing what
it's not really. I believe that I can find better value later in the rounds at quarterback. That's kind of my approach. It always has been. I don't like to pay a lot of money for a quarterback because I feel just value-wise, top to bottom, quarterbacks tend to be much closer than what people realize. And I would rather spend $5 or less on the quarterback position to save me money to allocate towards maybe a more valuable position like running back or wide receiver.
Okay, yeah. So my values are a little bit higher, and I didn't do a value based on what I prefer them at. I did a value based on what they should go for in a league draft. So I have Josh Allen at 16. I'll just talk about him a little bit. Even though he lost Stephon Diggs, people are expecting him to have a bad season, and I'm looking at his running aspect. They lost Stephon Diggs, but they brought in some rookie wide receiver. They brought in a veteran wide receiver.
Keon Coleman.
They brought in Keon Coleman, yeah.
And Curtis Samuel.
They did. But I think they did just enough where he should maintain his passing statistics, and he's going to continue to get, I don't know if he's going to get 15 rushing touchdowns, but I think he's going to get double digits, 10 rushing touchdowns, maybe another 500 rushing yards. That's just going to add on to his quarterback statistics in fantasy football. That's going to be king. It's going to put him on top, and it's going to give him a strong chance to finish as the quarterback one for a second time in a row. So that's why I have him valued the highest quarterback, and I have him as my QB1.
Part of the reason I kind of evaluated quarterback with a floor instead of a max value the way that I did is because I want to see these players go for at least that minimum value. So I will bid up these players to those values, but it doesn't necessarily mean I want to win any of them. It's just more of a monitor for myself. I think that there's tremendous value as we begin to kind of drift down and go further down the list of quarterbacks and who's going to be available. I think it's really important to note also when you evaluate the quarterback position, you always want to make sure that you kind of know who the top 12 are and who you see as the top 12, especially if you're in a 12-person league, because essentially you're identifying who those 12 starters are and you want to build out your tiers around kind of what the stats will look like for those 12.
So
what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, no, I guess I agree. You build around the top 12. I kind of just identify 2 quarterbacks I want. Last year, I really wanted Lamar Jackson. He was the guy. I wanted his rushing upside. So he was my number 1, even though he wasn't valued as the number 1. But he was my number 1 value, so I went out and got him. So yeah, I kind of base off of value, identify what I want, and then set a price and go after it. Other than that, anybody else is just I throw out to eat money.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Who do you have in your second tier? And
My
what are their
second tier?
values?
Yeah, second tier of quarterbacks I have that I really like. I got Anthony Richardson, Kyler Murray, and Joe Burrow. Part of the reason I evaluate these guys into my second tier is obviously the rushing upside on Anthony Richardson and Kyler Murray I think is tremendous. Yeah. I actually like Joe Burrow coming back and having a good year. He still has a lot of passing weapons. And with them getting rid of Joe Mixon, I think you're going to see maybe a different style of kind of passing attack with them. He really liked to dump the ball out of the backfield a lot to Mixon, which was good for Mixon's value and whatnot, but it should be interesting. I don't think Joe Burrow is going to hit quite.
What value do you have on Joe Burrow?
Joe Burrow, I have around a 6 for the minimum. I'd like to kind of see him go. I'd be even okay if I saw him go for 5. Kyler Murray and Anthony Richardson, I have once again like kind of the lowest I want to see them go is probably about 7 on Anthony Richardson and Kyler Murray. Uh-huh. So not a huge difference, but of the quarterbacks that are out there and available to have in fantasy, I really think that the 2 quarterbacks that you're trying to target in the air quote top 12, I really think it's Kyler Murray or Anthony Richardson this year because the draft value that you have to spend to get your hands on them versus their potential upside and ceiling for points and whatnot, mm-hmm. It's just too much of a value to pass up. So if I can eat up a lot of money with the top tier in auction drafts, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to hopefully try to skate by, get a Kyler Murray or an Anthony Richardson. If I can get them for 7, that'd be great. If they start to venture up a little higher, I might reconsider and go to some of my more backup sleepers at quarterback. But what do you think about the second tier? Do you feel I'm off or?
We're not far off. I have number 5 Anthony Richardson at 7, Dak Prescott at 6 for 5, Joe Burrow at 7 for 5, and then I have C.J. Stroud ending that tier for 5.
So you don't even think Kyler Murray is worth having up there in tier 2 after talking about rushing quarterbacks being such a commodity?
No, so I don't have him in my tier 2 exactly, only because when you see the separation from my 2 and 3, that's only $1 off. But when we go by pure passing metrics, and you put injury as a factor, no, Kyler Murray didn't make my tier 2. Doesn't mean I don't like him. It just means I didn't value him in my second tier. But also I look at my second tier as kind of just throwing them out there, getting some money off. I do look at Anthony Richardson as value if you could get him at the right price in that tier with his rushing upside. I don't know what his passing stats are going to be like, but he was the only player last year who averaged 25 points a game. Now that's before injury. He did get injured. So with these rushing quarterbacks, there is that risk reward where if he does get injured, you're not going to get the value that you wanted. But yeah, I do think he is the value in the second tier.
So why don't we touch on that a bit, though? You're talking about some of these rushing quarterbacks being kind of injury prone. When you draft a rushing quarterback, do you draft what do you like to target as a backup, or do you not target one at all? You just leave it to the waivers.
Depends who I draft. If I spend money on my quarterback, depending on their bye week, yeah, I won't have a backup quarterback. Because at that point, you just spent most of your money. If you're going to the backup, you're probably not winning your league anyways. Now, if it's a mid-tier like an Anthony Richardson, yeah, I get a backup. I mean, there's a lot of great backups out there. And I think when we get to those tiers, we'll identify them. But those are dollar players. And right now, we're talking about tier 2. So, yeah, if they have injury risk, then you know what you're getting yourself into.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so there's a bit of a shuffle there. You have a slightly bigger, I think, tier 2 than what I have.
Just an extra player.
Yeah, you have an extra guy, and it was Dak Prescott, right? So
maybe two. I had C.J. Stroud in there also.
Yeah, you had C.J. Stroud in there. I have Dak and C.J. Stroud actually further down the list. I don't think they're tier 2 worthy. I do recognize that they're going to pick up some extra stuff on the ground, but I don't think it's going to be nearly of the same significance of Kyler Murray or Anthony Richardson.
Stephon Diggs and Nico Collins say otherwise, but feel free to go into your tier 3. I'm curious.
Yeah, no, tier 3, I got Dak, I got Jordan Love, I got Jared Goff, CJ Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, Brock Purdy. I kind of view all of them as one and the same. That's kind of the tier where I feel like you could get into some trouble trying to eat money. Although I do think you could throw out CJ Stroud to eat up some money if you don't really want him at all. Yeah. And that's probably something that I will do this year at some point. I'll put him out there and I'll do it early to get people to eat money on him and probably Patrick Mahomes. What about you? What do you see going on here in kind of your third tier, your next grouping of quarterbacks?
Your tier 3 is like a combo of my tier 2, 3, and 4.
Yep.
But so I'll just get into it. The name of the game for quarterback this year is value. If you're not getting value on anybody in the first or second tier, it's okay to fall to tier 3 or tier 4. Players ranked 9 to 15, they're all the same to me. So my tier 3 is 3 players. It's Jordan Love, ranked 9, $4. Kyler Murray, ranked 10 for $4, which I believe was not far off from your value. And then the last player in tier 3 is Brock Purdy for $2. So these 3 are in my tier because I just think they're ranked 9 through 11. They're gonna have a small edge on anyone after that. They have small rushing upside. With Kyler and Murray, but they also have high passing touchdown side with Purdy and Love. The weapons are there. I don't know the situation with Ayuk. Hopefully he gets traded. As a Niner fan, I don't want him anymore, but that's not the point. But yeah, so those 3 are in a tier. I think they're more than worth $1. And once we head into the tier 4, everyone I didn't mention, once you hit quarterback 12 or under, they're just $1 for me. I get some are valued higher, but if you're in the 12-man league and you're at that 12th spot, you're the only one without a quarterback, you're not paying more than $1. You shouldn't be, at least.
And for a lot of people in the draft in tier 3, I would like to highlight Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff is a sneaky great value this year. He is probably, I would say he's one of my quarterback specials for this year. You can get him cheap, and he will put up lots of good numbers for you this year.
What rank do you have him at?
I have him at 10.
Oh, wow.
But I honestly think he's going to finish probably as a top 5 quarterback this year for fantasy.
That's pretty high. I have him at 15, and I have him for $1. What value do you have on
I have Jared Goff at 3.
$3. Okay. So, yeah, he could be a top 5 quarterback, but you want him at that dollar value.
Yes.
I wouldn't pay $3 for him.
I would.
Well, yeah, you put it at $3. I'm just saying for him to be a value, you need him for $1. But yeah, he has something ridiculous like 7 or 9 dome games where he just excels when he plays in the dome this year. So
he only has 3 games. So the key stat about Jared Goff going into this season that everyone needs to know in fantasy is that he actually averages 20 or more points a game when he plays in a dome stadium.
Yeah.
Every game this season, he plays in a dome except 3 games.
Okay.
And that's why Jared Goff, in my opinion, is an absolute steal. You guys want him on your team. He's got plenty of weapons, and he excels in that play-action offense in Detroit, which is a big reason why they've been seeing the success that they have there in Detroit. And he wasn't really seeing as much of that in Los Angeles near the end before he was traded. So obviously I'm big on Jared Goff this year. What about you? Yeah, I mean, going into tier 4, there's a few. Your
without getting into everyone in under rank 12, I'll just throw out one player that I think is a sneaky upside since you gave one with your rank 10, Jared Goff. I'm kind of leaning towards 2 players outside of the 12, and that's Trevor Lawrence and Jaden Daniels. I know there's a lot of hype on Jaden Daniels. I know in some rankings he's not even he's a top 12 quarterback at this point. We haven't seen him play. He has rushing upside. He looked good at LSU. He's looking good in training camps. But yeah, I like him as a sneaky dollar quarterback if that's the one you end up with. I also like Trevor Lawrence. He runs the ball just enough where he'll get you those rushing stats, but he has enough passing weapons. His coaching staff seems stable this year. Hopefully he's a little more comfortable in the system. And yeah, I think for $1, I think those are your 2 values outside of the top 12.
I would also add in, I don't disagree with those values there. If you can get any of those guys for $1, absolutely do it. I actually do believe that at the $1 value right now, there's a couple other guys that are just totally being ignored. And if you feel uncertain about whatever quarterback is that you get or draft this year, especially auction wise, I think Caleb Williams is a good value at $1. I think Justin Herbert's a great value at $1, and I think Deshaun Watson is a great value at $1. I would throw Kirk Cousins in as well, but I'm still on the fence if he's actually going to start in Atlanta this year.
He's going to start.
I don't know.
He'll start.
I don't like the idea of the rookie in the wings.
Here's my thing.
But that's the only reason I would not take a $1 flyer on Kirk Cousins. I think there's lots of good weapons and a good systematic change there in Atlanta with the coaches and what they're going to bring. You're not going to see the run-heavy offense that was there under Arthur Smith, but
beautiful.
Yeah, it's wonderful for fantasy.
It scares me with the Steelers, but beautiful for the Falcons. But just to go off of that, every quarterback you named I agree with. Take the dollar flyer on Cousins. Take it on anyone because it cost you $1. Drop him after week 1. Pick someone else up. They're out there. So that's the beautiful thing about taking dollar quarterbacks. All right. Ending with quarterbacks, let's move our way into tight ends.
Yeah.
I know I feel that tight ends and quarterbacks are similar value, where maybe if you don't get the elite ones, you just wait to the end. How do you feel about tight ends, Joe?
Oh, man. Tight ends, it's all about the system, right? And it's all about kind of what they're involved in.
Yeah.
I think this year is going to be. I mean, you hear it all the time from other people talking online about the tight end position. If you really don't get one of the top tier guys, or you're committed to one of them, I think it's almost better you take a late round flyer on the position, because there's a lot of late round upside flyer guys that can be had at probably a really nice discount.
Can you tell me your tier one?
Yeah, my tier one this year.
Tell me their values too, please.
This year I have Mark Andrews, Dalton Kincaid, Travis Kelce. I have all three of them in tier one with Sam Laporta, but I got all three of those tight ends, the first three I mentioned, at $10 each. I view them almost all the same. Laporta I have at $9, but if I'm being totally transparent and honest, if I were to highlight one of them, it'd be Sam Laporta. I'm looking to throw him out there as quick as possible to eat money out of other teams.
So you're looking for him to eat money, but who are you looking in that tier to get?
In tier one, if I had to pick one guy to get, I think it's going to be Dalton Kincaid, because I think I can actually get him. While I do have a low value on him for $10, I think I can get him for less than $10. And the key thing about Dalton Kincaid that I really like about him this year is he's in Buffalo, and Buffalo blew out all of their veteran wide receivers. They did bring in Curtis Samuel, but Dalton Kincaid, I think, is going to be the one returning piece in that passing game, and I think you're going to see a lot of dump downs to Kincaid and Buffalo, because I don't think that offense is going to be as good as what everyone thinks.
Allen has to throw to someone. So my tier one is Travis Kelce for 12, Sam Laporta for 12, Mark Andrews for 10, and then finishing tier one is Trey McBride for 10. So Kincaid did not make my tier one. The one I kind of like Kelce as my top tight end this year. I think $12 is a reasonable price compared to what people were paying for him last year. I do understand. I also have Laporta at 12, so I guess it's really a 1A, 1B situation. He's younger. He's on a thriving Lions team. So, yeah, I can see Laporta kind of taking it from Kelce. He did last year, but I don't know. Something about this Chiefs team just tells me they're going to be in the red zone, and Mahomes is just going to go to Kelce, and we might see a lot of touchdowns to Kelce this year.
I like Kelce, but I don't like the idea of dumping a lot of value into him. He was a little banged up last year. You know, tight end's he's got a lot of miles on him. Tight end's a very physical position. And he did get dinged a bit last year, and it slowed down his production. And I just don't see that being any better. It's really hard for me to rank him as the number one tight end overall. Well, he could end up being the top tight end overall this year.
I think that's the difference from last year and this year. Last year you were paying first round price for Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
This year you're paying third, fourth round price. That's not a bad risk reward. Third, fourth round value.
I kind of disagree with that notion. While I do have Travis Kelce in my top tier, it's more of a he deserves to be there because he's been doing it for so long.
Well, his situation is still
it's so fluid. Fluid.
Kansas City doesn't have a standout wide receiver yet. He's still with Patrick Mahomes, and you still got Andy Reid as the coach. I mean, it's even though he's 34, 35 now, he's pushing the limit.
For the purposes of fantasy, though, and for an auction draft, you're going to have to pay a premium value to put Travis Kelce on your team. I'm going to say it. I would rather have someone in my tier 2 at a discounted rate with upside opposed to Travis Kelce.
And that's fine. Let's get into your tier 2.
Yeah, tier 2 for me is going to be Kyle Pitts, Evan Ingram, and Trey McBride. I think I have Kyle Pitts ranked number 5. I think he actually has potential to venture above Laporta, Kelce, and even Mark Andrews this year. I think Atlanta is going to look much different on the offensive end, and they're going to have to use Kyle Pitts this year.
Yeah,
But
if we get anything what we saw in his rookie year, 1,000
Yeah.
receiving yards, yeah, he definitely belongs in tier one.
and Kyle Pitts has burned enough owners the past few years
Burned me.
that you're probably going to be able to get him at a discount. It'll be minimum people competing for his services. So even if you feel uneasy about getting Kyle Pitts, if you can get him at a discount,
What's a discount?
I would say anything under 8.
Okay.
Anything under 8 for Kyle Pitts would be a bit of a discount. So if you can get him at a discount, you could always float out another potential, bid on another tight end just as a floor to kind of protect yourself there. The one guy in tier 2 that I have that I don't think there's really many question marks around is Evan Ingram. I really like Evan Ingram a lot.
I like him too.
I like the value that he offers in tier 2. He's going to get volume. He's going to, I mean, outside of Christian Kirk, he's the guy. They're going to be throwing him the ball a lot.
Well, he had 140 targets last
Yep,
year?
yep. And volume. You want opportunity, you want volume, and that's what brings value. And if you can get Evan Ingram for less than the players in tier 1, I think Evan Ingram's a great get.
So my tier 2 is Dalton Kincaid at 5 with a $9 value. So we're only $1 off on him. So I think we're on the same page. Number 6 is George Kittle, $8 value. So I had him lower. And with this whole Ayuk situation, yeah, he's climbing up the boards. I could see, if Ayuk doesn't play, I could see George Kittle being a huge advantage at that position.
I understand what you're saying about George Kittle, but George Kittle is also one of the few tight ends that actually blocks and plays the tight end position the way it's supposed to be. And because of that, he always gets dinged. He's always hurt. He's always beat up. It's part of the reason he's not in my tier 2, and I actually moved him down a tier. But finish telling me about your tier 2, please.
He's healthy now. And then my number 7 is Kyle Pitts. I have him at $8, and I agreed with everything you said. And number 8, finishing my tier 2, is Evan Ingram for $7. And yeah, I think if you could get him for that price or even a little lower, great value. So the great thing about auction draft is typically tight ends don't get thrown out till later in the draft. So you might get some value at the tight end position if they're there long enough.
Yeah. Like I was saying,
Anyone in the tier 3 that you want to get into?
I mean, tier 3, you mentioned George Kittle. You're big on him. I'm not. George Kittle's a money eater for me. I'm going to throw him out there and let you have him and eat him up. I think, though, like I had mentioned earlier, if you do pay a lot of money for one of the top tier tight ends, or maybe you're able to get in on Kyle Pitts cheap, I think some good floor guys to kind of protect that Kyle Pitts pick if you're not feeling comfortable with it are maybe like a Pat Freiermuth, who I have in tier 3, maybe a Dallas Goedert you can get cheap, David Njoku, or Jake Ferguson in Dallas.
What are your values on them?
I got Jake at 5, I got Njoku at 5, Goddard at 4, Freiermuth at 4.
Okay.
So and those are kind of my low values where I want to see them going, not necessarily my cap.
So I disagree with you on tier 3 about tight ends. If you're not getting a top 8 tight end, then I don't see much value on tier 3. If you're paying $4 or $5, you were just better paying an extra $2 for one of the top 8. In my tier 3, I have Jake Ferguson for 4, Njoku for 4. Now, this is the one exception of that comment. I have Brock Bowers at 11 for rank 11 for 3. I have Goddard rank 12 for 3, and I have Pat Freiermuth for $2, finishing that tier 3. The value in there for me is Pat Freiermuth. If you could get him as a $2 or $1 tight end, I think he's good enough to start and be that high floor guy that supports your team. And then I like the upside of Brock Bowers. We don't know what he is. He's on the Raiders. If you don't want him, I get it. I just think in this lower tier, he's the one that could stand out. Njoku's going to have his ups and downs throughout the year. Ferguson should be a safe floor. I just think when you get to the spot of tight ends, you're better off getting the top 8.
I don't disagree with that entirely. I think there's too little to be known on Brock Bowers. He's going to be in a bad offense. They're going to cover him and Devontae Adams heavily. I really, if someone's going to pay more than $1 for Brock Bowers, you want to get him out there, I think, and get some more money off the board. I think where the real value is in the late rounds is going to be Noah Fant. Noah Fant for $1, to me, is a tremendous value. Seattle blew Pete Carroll out. That was just a ground and pound offense, play defense. They've brought in coordinators and coaches that are very pass first, pass heavy. The sneaky value, if you pass up on the tight end position until the end of the draft, is going to be Noah Fant. I can't get Noah Fant on enough of my teams this year.
I like Noah Fant. I think he's a good sneaky pick. Two names I have outside of the top 12 or even the top 15 is Luke Musgrave for $1. Packers tight end. People forget before he got injured, he was heavily involved in that offense, and he was Jordan Love's safety valve. And another guy I like just having them on my team is Taysom Hill. For $1, have that utility
absolutely.
guy. Yeah, he's going to get you maybe 3 points certain weeks, but when you plug him in that 1 week and he decides to throw a touchdown or catch a touchdown or run a touchdown.
Or all three. I've experienced that. I've been on the receiving end of it.
You're going to be glad he was on your team to fill in that spot. So, yeah, I think that rounds up our tight ends, and that's our values on quarterbacks and tight ends. Good.
Let me do this. Do we have an outline?
Already?
Do we have an outline for this at all?
No, it's quarterbacks, tight ends.
Okay. All right. Did you do your wiggle?
You're good.
Yeah, we will.
I know. Is this lower? Was this always that height?
Yeah. It's off to the side.
Is this day good? Adrian.
We good? Can I pineapple this and go?
He does not get with pineapple.
I'm pineappling you because
yeah.
you keep talking.
So a girl once gave me a pineapple for my birthday.
Oh my gosh. This is why I have to pineapple this guy. That's why I have to pineapple him.
Okay, go.
All right, here we are, Sabri. We're back. And
no, pineapple.
What the?
This is a new one.
It is.
We're back. Just
we're back.
This is a new one.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you intro it since I can't do anything right. So you do the intro.
No, you do it.
No, you do the intro.
You did just fine.
You go do the intro.
I was practicing my draft strategy.
No. Go. I'm done. I'm gonna be color and you do your thing.
All right, go. No, you did great. I just wanted you to have a little more energy.
It's like white man can't jump. You do better when you're pissed off.
Yeah, you do better when you're pissed off. All right, you go, Joe. I won't interrupt you.
No,
If
you go on ahead. No, you go on ahead. You have a vision for what you want it to be.
No. My vision is you're my vision. I'm a great color commentator. I'm wearing green.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, pineapples. It was a fly. Dude, there's a fly in here, and it was landing on Sabri, and I didn't want it to bother him.
As a professional.
Yeah, as a professional, he kept going, but I missed it. I'm so mad.
I thought Sabri was making a point. You're like,
I was like, yeah,
like, what?
yeah, Sabri.
All right.